What you heard there was a final call from last night's game. Red Sox defeat the Yankees 3-0. Most important statistic of the game, 2:23, 2
Beautiful.
hours, 23 minutes. That thing was humming along like nobody's business last night. Exactly what I was looking for. But, and you may be surprised to know, I'm actually kind of impressed. The Red Sox took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. It was an important series going in. I thought it would be just like them to come out of the Marlins series after beating the bag out of a bad team, one of the worst teams in baseball, go into New York and lose, just trot along and not really give anybody any inspiration. I personally am interested in the battle between the uniform personnel and the non-uniform personnel taking place within the organization, because the uniform personnel is now putting great heat on the uniform. I mean, the uniform personnel is putting great heat on the non-uniform personnel. So let me start with this. I'll ask you as a former Globie.
Yep.
Because your former colleague and mine, Chris Gasper, says he wouldn't invest in this team. He doesn't believe in it. I wasn't here that Friday, but that's what Gasper said, which frankly I find appalling.
Yes. Would I invest in the team?
Do you think?
Absolutely.
So do you believe? Do you believe in them?
Yes. I believe in this team in this sense. Mazz, I think they are a good baseball team. They are good. Are they better than the Yankees, despite the fact that they kind of ragdolled the Yankees in the last 2 series?
Yep.
They've made up about 10 games in a month on the Yankees. And I know the Yankees are slumping. And
they're only 3 behind in the loss column.
Right.
3.
But do I think they're better than the Yankees? No. I don't think most Red Sox fans, despite 2 out of 3, can look at it and say the Red Sox have more talent and top to bottom are a better baseball team than the Yankees. But I think they're a good team. They're third place in the AL East for a reason. And so what do you do with a good team that's in playoff position? You invest in that team. And I think it comes back to exactly what you said. Uniform personnel versus non-uniform personnel. It's the analytics people who believe in performance models versus the people who believe in performance on the field. So performance on the field is what matters to Alex Cora.
Absolutely.
What matters to John Henry and Sam Kennedy, I got to put you in there, Sam, sorry, is analytics models. And in between, okay, now here's the guy. Here's our key character in this whole drama. The key character is Craig Breslow. What are you going to do, Craig? What are you going to do? Because the previous guy who we just killed, Chaim Bloom, most of the time he was a wallflower. But when he wasn't a wallflower, he actually brought in somebody who could help them pursue a pennant. And that was he brought in Kyle Schwarber. Give him credit for that. He actually was able to do that dance of, I know what my bosses want. They don't want me to spend a lot of money. But I know what those guys in the clubhouse, what they need. They need some reinforcements. I'm going to play the game. I'll bring in somebody cheap who can help us win right now, but it's not going to screw up the bottom line for ownership.
So you believe that they are worthy of
yes,
a commitment?
Of course.
At the deadline.
Of course.
Yeah. And again, I'm not talking about trading Marcelo Meyer.
No.
But making a move to help the team.
You got to
start with believing in the team.
Do I believe in the team? Yes. I think they're a good team that needs a little bit more.
Mark?
Needs some reinforcements.
Do you believe?
This conversation completely and utterly disgusts me. I'm going to just say that. I'm going to just say one other thing that I want to reiterate, and I know you guys know this, but I think it adds good context to this conversation into what Michael just said. Baseball, as we know, isn't like other sports. It's not like basketball. So all that talent on the Yankees, all that talent on other teams, sometimes could go down the drain during a stretch of time, during a postseason run. We saw David Ortiz at one point go 0 for 24, 0 for 30. Jeter did the same thing. You just never know. You just never know who's going to get hot. If Jackie Bradley Jr. is going to be the ALCS MVP, if Todd Walker is going to go nuts during the playoff. What was the name of the guy for the Mets, David Murphy? You just don't know. And if your team is in a position, okay, to contend and to compete for a title, the Diamondbacks last year, who were the third wild card or whatever, you go for it. You do it. You go for the goal. Like that's. Now I'm losing everything.
I love it.
You go
the
for the championship.
The headphones come off.
This is what it's about. Okay, this is what it's all about. It's competition, and Craig Breslow is exactly who you should be going at, because and we can get in. We're going to get into it all day long, but absolutely, they're there. They're 9 games over 500. Do you know how many games over 500 the 2004 Red Sox were on July 8th? 9 games. The 2004 Red Sox had 3 All-Stars. This team has 3 All-Stars. I don't know what we're discussing. You go for it. You're a baseball team in contention. You never know what could happen. That's the model. You need reinforcements at the deadline. You plug those holes. You go for it. I don't know what Gasp was talking about. You go for it because anything could happen if you're in position.
So, look, to me, I look at it this simple. I look at this simply rather at this point. Okay, 49-40 is way better than I thought it would be. It's an 89 win pace. I never imagined that they would be 9 games over 500 with the pitching they have had at this stage. Never imagined it. I didn't think it was freaking remotely possible. If you want to know the truth, I thought there was 0 chance they would get to this stage. So good for them to get into this stage. Now, the argument against them is they're overachieving. Can you sustain it? And frankly, I think there's a chance they could be better in the second half of the season. And the reason I say that, now again, don't confuse better with world championship caliber.
Right.
Okay, that's a different thing. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but put that aside for the moment. It really doesn't matter whether you think they can win a championship or not. The idea that somehow you could only invest in teams that win championships is asinine. It's always been asinine. It's a product. There's a certain trust that has to exist between the fan base and the ownership and management that when you get to a certain stage, you're going to dig in and you're going to fight for it. And then whatever happens, happens. It doesn't mean you have to mortgage your future to do it. It has never meant that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, what I don't understand, I think Buster Olney had this piece where he says, hey, management is undecided. Ownership is undecided about whether they're going to buy or sell. Why are you undecided? I don't. What are you waiting for? What's this indecision? You're in the AL East. You're the Boston Red Sox, and you've done your part. Everybody in that clubhouse has done their part. You missed at the beginning of the season. You got Trevor Story out. I'm not one of these people who says, "Oh, why did you trade Chris Sale?" I applauded the trade of Chris Sale. He's dominant right now. He looks like a Cy Young winner. He looks like everything he didn't look like here the last 4 or 5 years. So you got no Chris Sale. You got no Trevor Story. Giolito out for the season. And you got a manager who's a lame duck. I know we'll talk about that eventually. You're getting everything you can out of a pitching staff that has 2 reliable guys. You got 2 reliable starters.
And Michael, they lost Whitlock on top of it.
Yeah, so why are you undecided about what you're going to do with the team? Invest in the team. Dondero, you're right. You never know what's going to happen. One guy you didn't mention, you don't know who's going to be the AL MVP. How about Stevie Pierce?
Stevie Pierce.
Remember Stevie Pierce hitting big home runs when it mattered most. So you need to bring in those type of guys. I think they need another hitter. You think that they can be even better than they are? No, I don't. I think if you don't make a trade, if you don't make a couple of moves for this team, it's going to see it's going to be the same thing the last couple of years. You're going to fall apart down the stretch because you don't have enough.
So I'll tell you why I think they can be better in the second half than they were in the first, Michael. And I think you're already starting to see it because there are young guys that improve as the year goes along. And if you go back and look at the 2015 team, and to me, this is the best comparison to make with this group. The 2015 team was not good for the first 4 months of the season. Now, admittedly, that was a different group. It was Betts, it was Bradley, Bogarts, Benintendi. I'm not even sure Benintendi was there yet, so I take that back. But the bottom line is those guys were starting to come up at the end of 2015, and then by the end of the season, they got their feet wet a little. All of a sudden, they were more established major leaguers, and now they were playing better at the end of the year. In the final 2 months of that season, I think they went, 6, 8 games over 500, which again in baseball is not insignificant. To go 10 games over, and they're 9 now, I'm calling it 10 just to round it off. If you just play 500 the rest of the way,
right,
and there are a lot of bad teams in the American League, that's 86 wins. That's in the race.
But give me some pitching though.
Okay, so
who's gonna carry you?
So I think Houck is legit. I've said that. I said that at the very beginning of the season. Now the innings totals, things like that, I can't speak to that. In terms of what impact it's going to have on him as the year goes. And I know the last couple haven't been great. His delivery's more consistent. It's repeatable. I think Houck is legit. They need a pitcher. I don't think there's any question about that. But if they add a starting pitcher, The untold story on this Red Sox team is their bullpen. Kenley Jansen has been freaking awesome.
Right. It was great last night.
He has been
how about
awesome.
the way that game ended last night, too? Striking out Aaron Judge to end the game and just really, because that was the only issue last night. It was a great pace, as you pointed out. Is anything crazy going to happen at the end of the game and kind of extend this thing? Is the bullpen going to blow it? And when he came in, he was throwing strikes, and it was a great matchup with Judge at the end of it. So he has been good the entire year, and he's a guy who keeps telling you, I want to be here. It's like, I like the way that these guys have handled it in the clubhouse. Alex Cora, I love Boston. I want to see what happens here with this team. I think we got a really good team, young, athletic team. I want to see what we can do. Kenley Jansen, I want to be here. Rafael Devers, before the season, we need help. They're saying and doing all the right things. So it comes back to, who are you, Craig Breslow? Who are you going to be? Are you going to side with the people who sign your checks? Are you going to side with the people in the clubhouse who know what it takes, just like you do? They were you. You were in there. You were one of these guys before you started to speak the language of value and all this stuff. You were one of those guys. So are you going to be one of those guys? Or are you going to be a suit?
I mean, in another year, at another point in time, we would have looked at this team and we would have said, of course you had. This is something unique. What is going on here defies logic. You can't explain a lot of it. And a lot of these young guys are dynamic. The speed is off the charts, which allows them to get creative and, frankly, create some offense when they otherwise wouldn't have it. So, again, do I think they're a great team?
No.
No.
A great team? No.
No. But I think they're worth my time. And I think they're worth your time out there, wherever you are. And I think they're worth the time and the commitment of ownership and management. I do. I think they're worth it. They play hard. They compete. They generally throw strikes. And I mentioned the bullpen because I saw this today. Do you know how many games they've lost this year when they've led after the eighth inning? One all year long. Meanwhile, they're pulling games out of their ass. And this is where the ultimately their season has been decided. They play down to the wire. They rallied for that win on Friday night. They get a chance on Sunday night to nail one down, and Jansen nails it down.
Right.
And I'm no Kenley Jansen fan. He's been really good. He's been really, really good. So what, you're going to trade your closer now who's nailing down your wins? Jaron Duran's an all-star. You're going to tell these kids, play your asses off, get in the race, and then we're going to trade away our closer?
Yep.
You can't do it.
I was going to say, that's what they've done the last couple of years.
You can't do it. And your point, what did you say that the Red Sox record was?
In 2004, there were 9 games over 500 on July 8th.
Okay.
But they were underperforming.
They
That's
were
different.
No, they were
in
underperforming.
04, they were underperforming.
It doesn't matter. I mean, maybe. I don't remember.
No, they were.
The facts are the facts, and they were in
Mazz
the same
Mazz
position.
was there. Mazz was writing on baseball columns about it, saying what's wrong.
I was there, and they were underperforming.
They were underperforming in 2004.
But look, all I'm telling you is this: they're only a few games behind the Yankees right now. Last year, the Yankees went 82-80. The Red Sox won 78 games. They were 4 games apart a year ago. Now they're 4 games apart again. So the difference is you get a playoff spot on the line. You cannot bail on this team if you are ownership. You will never be forgiven, which is something Buster Olney, I think, said last night during the broadcast. Anyway, the main story, the main storyline of last night's game, which was apparent to me, was the manager, who's at the center of the whole thing. Frankly, I think he's getting a little too much credit. I'm not telling you he's a significant factor in this thing, but he's getting a little too much credit right now. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Red Sox analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.